Welcome to the United States of America podcast. I am Niti, and we are broadcasting live from the Food Church here in North Carolina. Anna is taking some time off from her public appearances, but she has not stopped her very important work as the fiduciary of the United States of America. She is powerfully moving the needle forward. During this time, we will continue sharing news from the Federation and maintain the beacon for all living men to learn about their birthright inheritance. So if you've missed past episodes, please be sure to take the time to watch the first episode and then watch the rest like a documentary, okay? So we are a people at peace, and we have declared peace to all nations around the world. This is not a marketing or a promotional channel. We are shining a light on knowledge that is being hidden from you, and we are sharing the truth about your birthright and your inheritance. We've got moderators who are assisting in the comment section. Please be kind and self-govern. If you have any questions, please put them in all caps and only enter them once per show. Today, I have the pleasure of introducing you to Tammy Healy, our New Jersey collaboration extraordinaire. Welcome, Tammy. How are you?
Hey, Niti. I'm good, thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me onto the show today.
Oh, thank you for making the time for us. I mean, you have been contributing so very much towards all the assemblies and the Federation, and the work that you do is just really, really amazing. And it is such a gift for all of us. And so I just wanted to thank you, because it's been really wonderful watching all of your broadcasts, all the interviews that you're doing, and the production on your work. I'm telling you, man, I'm super impressed, because I know what it takes to do that. And I mean, you really are professional with that. It's incredible.
Well, thank you. I appreciate those kind words. It's actually my creative side that I get to do the production part of the interviews. And so that part is fun for me, because I get to showcase Anna's words and the message that she's bringing to the world, and I get to do it in a creative, fun way. So it doesn't feel like work. In fact, that's part of the the things that I do that I really enjoy. There's other things that I have to do that I don't really enjoy them too much. It's not really my wheelhouse, but we got to do what we got to do. So, but I really enjoy meeting all the amazing American men and women across our country that are stepping up and are coming to the call and doing their part. So it's always fun to do that.
Absolutely. Well, I'm really glad. I mean, look, when you're doing things that you're passionate about and that it's what you're called to do, you really don't work, right?
Right. Yeah. It doesn't feel like work, right?
With that having been said, we're doing a lot of things that we've never done ever before. And there's a lot of, unlearning and relearning involved. And that part, I think, makes us feel like we're really working harder probably than we ever have before.
Yes.
But I really appreciate the expansion, like this is an expanding universe, and this is an incredible time to be here and be here for this remembrance, this great remembrance. And the work that you're promoting is in line with, we're trying to do like a rapid education for the Americans with the boots on the ground, while Anna is on her hiatus, because she's given us plenty of information about how to do things and what to do. And I really believe that most of the assemblies are paralyzed, because there's so much to know.
Yeah.
And so that paralysis by analysis thing kind of like gets in there. And it's time for people, Anna's like, look, I don't know what y'all are doing, but like get up. And so I thought it would be a great time to kind of light a fire under everyone and really point out actionable pieces that everyone can do right now, because we have some incredibly talented, powerful Americans on this great land. And you are really like, I feel like whatever it is about you, it's like you put that little sprinkle of love that brings that out and grows that in our assemblies. And so I wanted to know, what is your background, and like, let's learn a little bit more about who you are and, your family, if you don't mind sharing some of that with us.
Of course. Yeah, I would love to. So I'm married for 22 years, to my soulmate, my partner. He's a great guy, and we've been through some tough times, but we've learned what it means to be married and be committed and stick through the ups and the downs. And we've just have grown closer and stronger because of those challenges. And we have 4 kids. But I guess if I go back, to kind of give your audience a little feel for, who I am, and where I came from. So I grew up in a small town. It was a beach community, and ironically, it was a military town as well. So we had people coming and going all the time. But for me, my sanctuary was the beach, and the beach was on the Long Island Sound. And so I spent my summers climbing rocks and crabbing and swimming in the ocean and laying in the sun, and just really, that was my peace. That was my sanctuary. So every time when I hear Anna say, go to your happy place, that's was my happy place. My dad worked second shift, so he would lay and sleep on the beach while my brother and I were, exploring the beach and climbing the rocks and just doing things that kids normally do. And and in school, I don't think that this is a surprise for people that know me now, but I was a chatterbox. And I used to get in trouble all the time. I would be, put in the corner because I was talking too much, sometimes sent to the principal's office. And they finally realized that, well, punishing her isn't really working. Um, so they ended up pairing me with all the new kids, because it was a military town. So we had a lot of kids coming and going. And so they would pair me up with the new kids so I could show them around. And I was really good at introducing them to everybody and showing them where everything was and making sure that everybody played with them on the playground. And so, that's kind of in my nature. And so it started from a young age. But we had moved out of that small town and moved into more of an urban area in Connecticut. I grew up in Connecticut. And I remember the first day going to school in the bigger city, coming from a smaller town. My mom dressed me in a plaid dress and these lace rolled over socks with these Mary Jane shoes and my hair in pigtails. And we're walking to school, and we show up to the school, and my mom sees all the kids. And if you can envision back in those days, I guess this is, in the 80s, there was cardboard boxes on the front lawn of the schoolyard, and kids break dancing, and girls wearing tight mini skirts and boots with, little high heels, and their hair teased up and makeup, and, the jelly bracelets going up their arms. And my mom looks at me and she goes, "What grade does this school go up to?" So it was interesting because in that time period, I realized, coming from a small beach community to a bigger city, the kids were more advanced. And I sort of became a target and was bullied. Not many people know this about my life, but I feel like it's significant, especially for preparing me for the world today. And but I was bullied for 3 years, and that was very hard, especially being a very charismatic and spirited girl. And it that really tormented me for 3 years. But my mom eventually, we exhausted all of our options of going to the teachers and going to the mom. And this girl that was the bully, she lived across the street from me, and she was from a broken home. And so I just became a target for her, and it went on for 3 years. And the last day that I was bullied was when I had like a group of 10 kids following me home from school, kicking dirt on me and kind of provoking me. And I finally get to my house, and my brother sees the commotion outside. He's 3 years older than me. So he comes out and he's asking, what's going on here? And so words were exchanged, and my mother gets frustrated, and she comes outside and she said, "That's it. We're done with this bullying." And she grabs me by the shoulders and she said, "This bullying ends today. You're going down there and you're hitting her." Because she was down from the stairs. And I'm like, "I don't want to hit anybody." My mom's like, "Oh no, you're going down there and you're going to, punch her as hard as you can, because this bullying is ending today." And I went down there and we brawled. And then my girlfriend's mother was driving by and broke up everything. But what I learned in that moment, going back to school the next day, was that there was a level of respect. And unfortunately, sometimes, these kinds of matters need to be dealt with in your own way. And especially when you've exhausted all the other options. And it really taught me that, standing up for yourself against a bully is not as scary as I thought it was.
Right.
And basically, bullies are basically scared themselves, because they basically gather their team of
Mm.
thugs to do their dirty work. And when you face them and confront them and let them know that they're not going to bully you anymore, they back down. And that was the end of that bullying. And it taught me such a great lesson. And I really love and appreciate my mom for, for demanding that I do that, because she had seen that the amount of torture and, all the things, all the pain and suffering that I was going through because of it, when she knew all I had to do is stand up to them. But anyway, I felt like that moment in time really prepared me for what we're dealing with today, because at the end of the day, we're really just dealing with a bunch of bullies, and so it takes courage and strength and knowing who you are to stand in your truth. Anna tells us this all the time. You need to know who you are. And so, that was kind of my childhood. I came to find the assembly in a very interesting way. I had started my journey of discovery years ago when I was pregnant with my son, and I had an adverse reaction to a flu vaccine. And it kind of sent me on that rabbit hole. And then I became, an advocate and activist for the health and medical freedom movement. And so that kind of really began my journey of discovery and opening my eyes to the corruption and the evilness of the world. So when COVID hit, I was being told I had to wear a mask and that they were going to force vaccines. And, the world was looking very different than being a free country. And I accidentally stumbled upon a restaurant that was not abiding by all the mandates. And it was like going into a time warp, because I went into this restaurant. It was like a little soup and sandwich shop. And I went in there with my daughter, and they had all this paraphernalia, patriot stuff. And come to find out, they were holding patriot meetings. And so I got involved in this patriot group, and we were hosting all sorts of events, and really trying to wake up the public with all the evils that were going on, the corruption. And the group decided that we wanted to do freedom rallies across our state. And so I decided to do a freedom rally in the town that I live in. And it started to attract many, many people. And that's when we had an American State National show up at our freedom rally and started educating us. And so that's really how I got introduced to Anna. And I would say that was October of 2021. And once I started researching the information, I was, researching Anna, reading her book, Something is Wrong When. And then I said, you know what, how do I know that this old lady here is telling me the truth and she's not pulling my leg? Like, I was starting to feel like, wow, everything is a lie. And I needed to find evidence to back up what she was saying was true. So I started doing my own research and coming across my own material. And one of my favorite books was Fruit from a Poisonous Tree by Melvin Stamper. And ironically, the foreword to that book was written by a judge from Newark, New Jersey. So that really opened my eyes. And I mean, he really gets into the nitty gritty about the IRS and the deception with that. And so once I read that book, and I would stay up till 1, 2 o'clock in the morning reading that book, and was so enthralled in it. Once I read that book, then I went back to Anna's book, Something is Wrong When, and I finished the book, and I was like, wow. So I would say probably about 3 months after being introduced to the American State Assemblies, I decided to correct my status and kind of jumped in both feet. At the time, being involved in these patriot groups, I was running events for them. We had different speakers, gubernatorial candidates that we were scheduling to come meet with our patriot group and talk to them. So I had some experience with outreach, speaking for the group, and that sort of thing. So outreach is kind of a natural, my wheelhouse. It's my natural wheelhouse. And I was some of the patriot groups were gathering together and putting a truth summit together, and asked me if I would present the American State Assemblies. And so I still wasn't 100% educated in the matter, but I wasn't going to give up that opportunity. And so I convinced our coordinator at that time to be up there and present it with me. I did all the slides and put all the materials together, and we presented it. I believe we had somewhere around 200 to 250 people at this event. And so that's kind of how I got started with the assemblies.
Wow.
Yeah.
That was great. I mean, first of all, I feel like we had a very similar background in the way that you I mean, from your bullying days, I was always the only Indian girl in the South, and everybody was just, I mean, we weren't in very mixed ethnic groups here on North Carolina at that time. I mean, we're talking about the early 70s, late 60s, everything was very black and white, and that was it.
Yeah. And
And
I think that bullies don't even need to necessarily, they'll find a reason to bully you.
yes.
Like, mean kids are mean kids. And whatever reason they're going to use to torment you, really, is when they know that they've pushed a button with you. Then they know that they've got you. And that was also an experience for me, is not being reactionary to triggers.
Oh, yeah. Listen, they're expressing a reflection of themselves. They're fighting with
Right.
themselves. They're
Right.
never fighting with you. And, you know, in our situation here, it was just based around the fact that I wouldn't say on my piece of paper that I was black or white.
Right.
And they're like, but you got to pick a box. And I was like, but I don't need to pick a box because I'm from
Right.
India. I know where I'm from. And they would say, but you have to be white or black. And
Oh
I'm
my
like,
goodness.
no. I said, you're white or black because you don't know where you're from.
Yeah.
And they were never able to articulate that, well, I'm Italian, or I'm this, or I'm that, because in the South there weren't these ethnic groups, the way that you see them in New York City or whatever. Like it's very different vibe. And
Oh, yeah.
so there weren't any other ethnicities specifically. I mean, yes, everybody had an ethnicity, but they didn't know to speak about their nationality or their ethnicity. That was when they were talking everybody out of that
Right.
and
Yeah.
making them get into a box.
Yeah.
And it was new because all the parents were like, we don't know why we have to do this either. Do you know what I mean? Like they weren't really prepared
Yeah.
to
That's
handle
all
that.
a part of their plan, to divide
Right.
and conquer. They're always
Sure.
looking for ways on how to divide us, you
Right.
know. And
Right.
when you see children together, there is no color, like
No.
kids just love on each other, and it's not even an issue. So, all these issues are man-made and done intentionally
Yeah.
to keep us divided.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, now coming into, uh, the assemblies, working on all of these, pieces, working on the mission. I mean, Anna's mission is real easy, you know?
Oh, yeah.
We are freeing all men from bondage. That is the entire mission.
Right. Well,
And
I think the initiative is simple, right?
mhm.
But because of all the mind control and the indoctrination, you know, they have convinced people that they are free,
Oh,
and their
well,
bondage that's
let me
freedom.
hey, no slave ever knows they're enslaved. Okay?
Right.
I can attest to this because our parents grew up in India when it was under British rule. And they didn't know that they were slaves to the Brits. I
Interesting.
mean, my mom and all her brothers and sisters and all of my grandfather and everybody, they will never admit to you that they were slaves of the Brits. They will say, "Oh, yes, we were under British rule."
Right. Right.
But they were not slaves, okay? But if you were to speak to the Southern slaves today, if they were alive to talk today, they wouldn't have said that because that's evidenced by the fact that Harriet Tubman couldn't get everybody to go. They wouldn't leave. And I mean, we're watching the stories and the movies and the ways that they want everyone to hate the white and the black people need to hate each other and all this stuff.
Right.
And I'm not saying people weren't abused. I mean, we're all being
Right.
abused
Right.
every moment. I mean, we're being violated all the time.
Correct.
So no one's saying that none of those horrific things didn't happen. No
Right.
one's saying that.
Right. No,
I
not
mean,
at
it
all.
happened here. It happened in India. It happened on
Right.
every nation on the planet. Okay. When our forefathers came here, it wasn't like they were looking for spices. Okay. Let's just be clear. They were looking to get away from the corporate machine. They were trying to escape the machine. So anyone who isn't really clear on that point, let's just make that plain because we're on YouTube. We're just talking to anybody and everybody who might just show up. So
Yeah, and I think the people that were coming here because they were escaping that tyranny were here in peace. And it wasn't until the British came over and got involved with the Native Americans and were, using them to go to war with, the peaceful people,
Oh, absolutely. They wanted to create a divide
Right,
and make it impossible for anyone to safely. I mean, isn't safety their thing? Like they want to create safety
right.
by
Well, they have
creating
to create
chaos.
the problem first in order
Oh,
to
well, yeah.
provide you with the safety. Yeah.
Yeah, they have to create the chaos so that they can, now,
Swoop in and be the heroes.
well, or to use that to like kind of threaten you into submission.
Yeah, fear. They
So,
use
they
fear.
want
It's
to hold
fear.
you hostage. And
Right.
I mean, isn't that what they're doing to all of our sons and daughters with the military? They break them and then
Yeah.
they hold them under duress and threat and then insult them like, well, you're following orders and now you think you're just going to go home,
Right.
and the
Yeah,
things
and
that,
I think that same tactic is being used with even the all the different law enforcement agencies.
absolutely.
I remember speaking to my hygienist, and she was telling me that her fiance was going to boot camp to be a state trooper, and that they took his backpack that had like all of his belongings in it and just dumped it out all over, the yard, and they had to go and pick up their stuff, and it's like, how demeaning. It's like they want to break you. They want to make you feel, less than, and below them, so that they put you into submission, and all you do is obey orders. You don't ask questions. You're not allowed to think for yourself. You're just there to obey orders.
Right. And because authority, that's what they do. It's evil. It's straight evil. This is all satanic. It's all
Right.
shaitan, like trying to come and explain to everyone how they're worthless.
Yeah.
And if you give your power up, then they win. That's all.
Yeah. And
They
people have this misconception that if if we don't have law enforcement, that there's going to be lawlessness. Right. And
Right.
that's the misconception. They
Right.
think, well, if we don't have these, I call them policy enforcers now. If we don't have the policy enforcers, keeping everybody in check, then we're going to have, anarchy and, lawlessness and,
Mhm.
and craziness. And really, I sit back and I think, wow, you really think that less of yourself, that you can't behave yourself and self-govern, right? Like, this is
Mhm.
what we're talking about with self-governing,
Mhm.
is following, a way of life that is safe and makes sense to you,
You
right? Like,
mean honorable, not safe. I'm not safe, okay? I'm dangerous.
yeah.
I'm dangerous and I'm formidable and I'm not safe and I don't need anything to be safe and I don't tell my kids to get home safe. I tell them, "Go be dangerous and get home. See you
Right.
later." You know? No, listen, this is the lie. This is what comes out of culture. So
Right.
culture, which is cults, we've all been raised in a cult. And and societies, they want you to believe that you're not capable or allowed to defend yourself because only policy officers can do that, okay?
Right.
And if you need to defend yourself, then you need to do that by finding a policy officer.
Yeah. And it's interesting because recently, about a year ago, I got into a car accident. I got hit really hard from behind. And back in the day, when you got into accidents, your job was to get out, see if the other person was okay, exchange information, and work it out yourselves, right?
Right.
The policy enforcers back then just kind of came to the scene of the accident to make sure everybody was okay and to fill out a police report, I guess, trying to make a record of the things that happened, right?
Right.
And so, but nowadays, they don't even want you getting out of your car and talking with one another. They're in control of the exchanging of information,
Mm.
and they don't want you involved in any of that. They do it all for you.
Is that what they do out there? Because we still exchange stuff here.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's what's happening here. Yeah, that's how
Oh,
they handle things here. Yeah, they don't want
well,
people talking to each other, and yeah, so it's
hmm.
it's it's quite interesting, and I think that these things happen over a course of time.
Yeah.
my best friend growing up, her dad was the chief of police in the town that we grew up in.
Mm-hmm.
He was a great guy. He was also a veteran.
Yeah.
But when we became 21, he said to us, "Look, ladies, if you're going out drinking," he's like, "you better call me for a ride." He goes, "Because
Right.
nowadays," he goes, "back in my day, if we were, patrolling the area and we saw somebody that looked like they could have been drinking and maybe they're drinking and driving, we would pull them over, put in the back of our cruiser, drive them home, and, tell them that they could go pick up their car the next day." He goes,
Right.
"Nowadays, they'll lock you up, take away your driver's license, and,
Mm-hmm.
throw you in jail." He's like, it's just a different world. And I think what we're seeing is a progression of
Mm-hmm.
these freedoms being taken away little by little. It's all a part
Mm-hmm.
of their plan. And, trying to get people to wake up to this. Sometimes people don't notice it because they don't get into car accidents. They're not drinking and
Yeah.
driving. And so they're not going into the courts, and they're not
Right.
seeing, firsthand what's happening with our young people.
Mm-hmm.
um, they're not witnessing this.
Right. Or our parents who never gave us all those vaccinations. I mean, I didn't, we didn't have that. But I mean, it all kind of started a little bit later. And my mom couldn't comprehend that they wanted me to take my brand new little baby and put like 50 shots into the baby. She was like, "What?" You know,
Right,
but
right,
if they're not going into the office, like, into the doctor's office or whatever, because like we used to have family physicians. We
right.
didn't. So this is like the slow boil, right? Michelle
Yeah,
talks about it a lot, and so they do this because they want to. They made a 500-year, 1,000-year plan. This isn't like
right,
a 5-minute plan, or it isn't
correct.
a Labor Day plan.
Right,
It's like,
right. This isn't just
um,
something they dreamt up. No, this has been a master plan that they were very patient to roll it out little by little.
right. This is the way that Rome never fell. It's a
Right.
very, very big plan.
Yeah.
And slowly and strategically, took the whole world over into this one world government. So,
Right. Right.
and they slowly just encroached a little bit more all the time, all the time, all the time. And the fact that they felt bold enough to test the COVID thing in 2020 shows you exactly how successful they've been. Because had they done that in the 70s, they would have
Oh
been
yeah.
hung.
Yes. I know. I
That was
know.
not going to happen.
No.
Like,
No. Yeah. It took a long time. I think you already said it. It's the propaganda, it's the movies, what people are watching on TV that brings them into this reality of what is really going on. That's the movie. That's the narrative that they want you to believe, but it's not reality.
yeah.
But I love when you can actually show people Supreme Court cases.
Oh, yeah. Well, I can show them my business. I can show them how being unincorporated allows you to be unregulated.
Right.
And they're just like, "What? What are you talking about?" You know? All of these things I think are the most fun when we are working with people with outreach, when they're like, "Well, how do you know? How do you speak so powerfully about this?" And because, I'll say, "No, that's not true. It's this." Well,
Right.
how do you know that? Well,
I do
once
something called research.
no, but
I
you want to know.
read.
But beyond that, Tammy, when you start practicing it and you're
Right.
able to do it and be successful, and I've been able to stand the de facto down, and they said you are self-proclaimed governing body. Like, when you are in this moment when you can run your business the way that you want and operate in the way that you want to, and you don't need to answer to anybody, that's when you can believe that it's true. So, men aren't going to believe that until they know they can enforce it and they know they can stand on it. We have
Yeah.
all these people still asking about the money part, but they're not comprehending the last 15 articles that Anna just wrote and
Yeah.
what it is that she's doing. This is not about money. Anna
Yeah.
doesn't need the money to pay her bills.
Right.
She has been using the money to fight the court cases. She's not fighting the court cases by paying them.
Right.
Listen, guys, her home was paid for, her land was paid for, everything was taken care of years ago. And they are brigands, pirates, inland pirates, who have stolen the land and are pretending to bill her for taxes on land they can't possibly own.
Well, and the funny part, Niti, that I think most people don't recognize right now
Mm-hmm.
is that, when I was waking up to this during COVID, and I was
Mm-hmm.
listening to the talks, Agenda 2030 and whatever, and listening to Klaus Schwab talk about you will own nothing and like it, right? I was thinking futuristically, right? In the future, this is what they want us to live like. But then when you start uncovering all the information about what has happened, it's already done. They already took the land. And
Well, they
if
didn't
you,
take it. They usurped the
yes, they usurped with titles, paper.
with titles. Look, dead corporations can't own anything. They can't own life.
Right.
Only living people can own life. Dead people can't do that. Dead corporations, like, these corporate fictions that were created by the Pope, by the Roman Curia. The Roman Curia,
Using your given name.
right,
Using your given name.
using
You know,
your gift. They stole
yes.
your gift, your name that you were given, which everyone who talks about how they don't like their name, they want to change their name, they want to shorten their name, they want to lengthen their name, your name was a gift. It was a love gift from
Right.
your,
Right.
your creators, your mom and dad and God, right? So this was what happened. So um and you should uh honor that. You used to be that everyone had names. I mean, they were given love names, pet names, house names, many different names. They went by so many names. I mean, Anna's got a whole paragraph of names.
I know.
Okay. But I mean, so did I mean, I was looking, Tammy, at our forefathers in India, on India. Like my husband's family, they had their land, their fiefdom, until just his dad's generation, his dad and his uncles were the first ones that had to actually go to work at a job because the Brits had like made it so difficult or whatever it was, and had, like taken over. But outside of that, they were able to maintain their land. So their provenance goes back for thousands of generations. And we're so fortunate that only one generation, which was his dad, and now his son, my husband, have had to actually work. We're not letting our son go back to that.
Right. Yeah. We want better for our children. Now that we know better, see, that's the thing. When you
Right.
know better, then you're responsible and held accountable to do better.
Right. And acknowledge the truth. Ignoring the truth isn't going to work. And
Right.
so everyone wants to make this conversation about money when it's not about money. There's
No.
so many things that we can do before that because we're doing it. Anna's doing it. You
Right.
think that Anna hasn't held these people off for all these years already? She has. She knows what to
Right.
do so she can just live her life. But she wanted to create systemic relief.
Right.
There is nothing Grana's doing that Grana isn't fully in control of.
No, I have full faith that Grana knows exactly what she's doing and going to be very successful at what she is doing.
Right. And this funding that we're providing her with is for court cases, is for, I mean, because every time that you serve notice, you have to either send it by courier or you think if Anna goes down to her clerk of court office that they're going to even let her give them any papers?
Right.
I
Right.
know that my clerk of court on Raleigh, North Carolina over here runs away from me. For me, I'm just little old Niti. I'm nobody, right? If I
Well,
go in there and they know that who I am and they see my folder because they know who I am at this point. And if I'm going there to put something on the record, they literally run away from me. My son was with me the last time and he was watching. He's like, "What is going on?" And I said, I told you they're phony baloney. These are actors. This is a theater. This isn't real. If you look outside, it says court in all capital letters, COURT. This is not, proper grammar. That says nothing. That's not an English word.
Yeah, and most people, I think, are having a hard time wrapping their head around the fact that when you have your name in all capital letters, it's basically making you a dead entity, a corporation, a person. That's why your name in all capital letters on your driver's license is spelled in all capital letters. Uh,
Well, let me break that down. That
yeah,
is Roman. That's ancient Roman.
right.
Okay.
Ancient Roman civil law. Yeah.
No, ancient Roman symbols.
Oh,
So
right. Yes.
ancient Roman language is either all caps or all lowercase. They don't have the upper and
Upper and
lowercase
lowercase. Yeah.
styling. And it doesn't interpret it as your name, because those symbols are read from right to left and they have a completely different meaning. So in fact, it is gibberish. You cannot take English and translate it into ancient Latin in all caps or all lowercase. You cannot do that and have it say the same thing. And so therefore it is a fiction. And that is how it is a corporate fiction. It is not the traditional English styling of our language. Like think about the Chicago Manual of Styles, the New York Manual of Styles. It is not proper English. And what they've convinced everyone to do, Tammy, is that, the style, the hit marketing style, like find a cool font, make it look really
Right.
neat. It should be beautiful. It should be aesthetically pleasing. No, that turns it into lies and
Right.
immorality. But,
And the interesting thing is that when, just using the driver's license for an example, right,
mhm.
is that nobody questioned, why is my name in all capital letters, but everything else on here is in upper and lowercase, and I think, when not even giving it a second thought, right, you're just thinking, well, maybe they just want my name to stand out.
Yeah.
I think that people, this is the rationale, because I'm not going to question this, but that's how they get away with these semantic deceit, is
Yes.
that they use these little things that are just a sleight of hand that nobody really is paying attention to. And this is how they're getting away with the fraud. And this is what the
Yeah.
general public needs to wrap their heads around, is that they've taken your good name, created these fictional entities, and basically took all your assets and put them in a trust and have been managing them for you.
Right.
Unbeknownst to you.
You've been robbed, man.
Yes, yes.
You've been robbed.
Right, right. And the hard part is, when you're trying to explain this to people, sometimes they look at you like they're a deer in headlights, like,
Right, because that doesn't even make any sense. Like, what are you
yes,
talking? Like, are you for
right,
real? And the more you speak, and you're not speaking like a child, you're not speaking in like puzzles or anything like that.
right,
But they're just like, what are you talking about? Because you could be using full lawful language and explaining all this stuff. And they're just like, where did you get this stuff?
right.
And the problem is that they know that there's something to it, because you don't sound that stupid, right? And also,
Or crazy.
right. I mean, well, because it's a very intelligent thing you're saying, and also it's crazy.
Yeah,
And they're just like, and it literally glitches with their mind control and the brainwashing.
yeah, yeah. Well, I found it very interesting, going back to the days of down the rabbit hole of the shots and the
Mm,
schedule,
yeah.
right? I can remember I had an adverse reaction to, the flu shot. And that kind of sent me down the rabbit hole and questioning things. And we went ahead with the first two for a few years, even though we questioned it and we got an enormous amount of pushback from the doctors. And talking to my girlfriends about it and saying, I'm noticing, my boys are at the doctors all the time. They had the croup cough. They're getting sick all the time. I don't think that this is normal, but in their mind, they're thinking it's normal. Oh, this is normal. It's normal because they don't have a frame of reference. Because, if they're getting your child at the very, at their very first breath and doing all this to them from the very beginning, how would you know what was normal?
Well, the other part of it is they've normalized it because all the other kids look like that.
But not only that, but the doctors, right? There's all this trust in the doctors, right? I know I was one of them,
You mean the worship. They gave you that white lab coat worshiping thing. So they programmed you never to question the doctor.
Question it. Right. Because they know best. You don't know a thing.
Right.
But getting back to my girlfriend's response is that we lost the ability over time to listen to our fellow men and women. And I believe that this is the indoctrination. This is the problem, the mind control that we're dealing with when speaking truth. Because some people just don't want to hear what you have to say. They can't handle what you have to say. And because there's this mind control with them, they're not asking any questions. Like if somebody said to me, my kid is acting really strange. He's getting colds and he's sick all the time. And I've done some research on these shots. And it turns out some of the things that I found and the conversation should go, really? Tell me more. What do you mean? What did you find? I'd like to learn more, right? But instead, dead silence.
Well, you want to know why? Because they already got ahead of that. What they said was they introduced conspiracy theories.
Right.
And conspiracy theory is actually a real thing because there's people conspiring against you. And for you to be talked into believing that is not true is insanity.
Right.
That's number one. And then they told you in the movies, Tammy, I don't know why you didn't believe them, but like in the movies, they said, you can't handle the truth.
Right.
But they can't handle the truth because they believe it,
Right. Their belief system.
But the be live, it's BLIE. It's a lie. It's a lie. And they believe it, right? Believe it. They believe it. But what are beliefs? They're just thoughts you keep thinking, right? Well, you can't help but keep thinking them if on the Good Morning America show, on the, whatever, all the show, like from morning until night, everything is just saying the same. They're just repeating the same. Oh my God, safety.
Right.
Safe. I mean, during 2020, they literally had 24/7 the same reel because they had to program them. And I will tell you, it takes 9 weeks to create new habits. This is a psychological fact.
Right.
And so for 2 months solid, they had that going. I actually think it was 12 months. 12 weeks. It was 3 months that they were like straight panic.
Yeah.
Because it started in March and it just got crazier and crazier. And then,
that time period is just one big blur for me, honestly. It was really a rough period for my family and I. We moved back from Texas. We lived in Texas for 5.5 years for work. We're from New Jersey. And we moved back up here and literally 5 weeks later, COVID hit. My kids were just getting reacclimated into the schools. And I
Wow.
guess in that regard, it was a blessing, because we ended up pulling them and, homeschooling and, doing something different. But it was really a rough time for them because, especially for younger, my two middle kids, they were in that age bracket where their social skills were just developing, and
Mm.
that sort of thing. And so you can see it now amongst the kids their age, some of the social anxieties and, different social inepts. And so, we're still, trying to heal from all of that and grow. And, thankfully I'm seeing some, changes with my kids now. They seem to be growing a little bit more. But I mean, the hard part was I had a girlfriend of mine who is a social worker, and her comment to me was, "Well, we're going to have a ton of work because this pandemic is going to create work for us." And I thought, "So you're okay with creating the traumas for our kids because that's going to bring you more work?" And I was just, that was a disappointment for me. And kind of, it was very heavy on my heart. But I just think that, going back to the money thing, right? That's a form of idolatry, and our society worships a graven image. Anna keeps talking about this all the time, and it's so true. People will stab their brothers and sisters and mothers and fathers in the back so that they could get ahead and make that almighty dollar. I mean, I've seen that happen time and time again, and it's really sad. And
Mhm. Well,
I'm really
what about the parents that only view your success based on your, income?
right.
Or, I mean, your success is only based on all the money that you can throw around and all the big, things that you can throw money at and waste money with, and
Right.
all, they make you believe you can't do anything without money, which is a problem we're having on all the assemblies.
Right.
Well, when the money comes, I'll do this. When the money, why? We're doing a whole bunch of stuff right now. We don't need the money to do that.
Yeah, we're figuring out without the money. Yeah.
Right. There's so much education to be had before the money even gets here.
Yeah.
There's so much more rapport to create amongst all the people, which goes back to, I want to go back to the Tammy's, collaborative movement, because everything that I've observed you doing goes back to that. These are your passion projects. And I mean, you can call them the creative things and whatever, okay, Tammy. But the big deal is that you're focused in on, honed in on getting people to collaborate. And I think it's wonderful. And I remember, I think it was over a year ago when I first spoke to you, and you were like, why is everybody like, I just want to get everybody together to work together. Like, what do you think, Niti? Can we just work together? And I remember thinking, well, yeah, that's, that's what we want to do,
Well,
but
the interesting thing is when I started doing, so why I started the American State Assembly's podcast was because when I was doing outreach here on my state, and I was like, yeah, all 50 states have been called back into session, and we're assembling and doing the work. And everybody's like, yeah, where are they? And I was like, well, how can I prove where they are and who they are and what they're doing? So I was like, I'm just going to start a podcast and introduce the amazing men and women, because I do truly feel that in my heart, that the men and women that are standing up and answering the call are the true heroes. And in my mind, they're the true heroes that are stepping up and doing the work. And so I wanted to provide a platform for them. And in my process of interviewing them, and I will say that every single one of the states that I interviewed, whether if they're still assembled, if it's the same people that are assembled or they've moved on and there's new people, amazing people, amazing men and women coming together, figuring it out, working hard. And the one thing that was a commonality amongst them was that, we don't have many people that can do the work. you know. And I'm not sure if it's that they can do the work, or they just, we've got working moms and dads, that are trying to make ends meet, and they don't have the time to commit. And so there's that challenge. And then there's people that lack certain skill sets, maybe with the computers, and some of us that like to be creative and create flyers and do marketing campaigns. Other assemblies don't have those skill sets. So in my mind, I thought, let's bring everybody together and let's share our resources, and that can help us grow exponentially. And so that was really my mindset, in saying, and like, uh, if somebody was able to do a website, oh, well, I know this assembly over here needs somebody to do a website. I'm going to connect you to, and I think that that's really how we're going to grow. That we shouldn't be keeping to our own state in a vacuum. I think that we should be sharing resources. And so when I started, the other thing I started was the International Outreach Think Tank. And that began again with trying to pull resources together to help people with their outreach. And we have an ICE Drive account where, other states have offered their material. And so we have brochures, business cards, flyers, slide presentations that everybody has shared. And so, bringing everybody together and having a place where they can go and grab those things and kind of make it their own. It definitely eliminates the time, because it's time consuming to put a PowerPoint presentation together, and it's time consuming. And some people just don't have the eye to put a flyer together. That's just not their wheelhouse. Their wheelhouse is something else, and so we need to identify people's strengths, come together collaboratively, and work with each other. So that's kind of my vision and kind of how I see us moving forward. And it's really beautiful when we do get together. One of the things that I know that you're aware of is we had Luis Anthony, who put together a beautiful outreach, a very all-encompassing, very well professionally laid out outreach initiative. And her project was well received with people that were attending these meetings. And it's kind of grown and flourished with the help from other people on other states. It's grown into now a different, like, there's phases to roll it out. And we have this freedom to kind of take what she's designed and kind of make it our own and do our own thing with it. And so my assembly is really grateful for that, and are totally on board with it. And we're going to be rolling that initiative out in November. We're working on that currently. So but yeah, I mean, I think when we have these meetings, when people are pulling together, and I know Deborah Ann, I watched your interview with her. What a beautiful soul. And all the things that she was talking about so resonated with me. But, she pulled together the International Outreach Ombudsman, think tank, and trying to pull resources, like people that are serving as ombudsmen, and trying to create like a handbook and a process. And, and I think that that's so beautiful, and it's so needed. Because if you don't have to reinvent the wheel, why would you want to? I mean,
Well,
time is of the essence.
but the study is so important. And in regards to the ombudsman, a lot of folks have been really trying to recommend, like, de facto training, and the same thing for self-governance. But Americans are not the same. Our law is not the same.
Yeah,
And so
and
so there.
what I think is beautiful, though, is that you're getting people together, and you
Mhm.
have like, some people have the mindsets of, maybe more corporate mindset, right? And
Right.
they need that structure, right? But then you have people that may take this document or handbook or process and take it and look at it and say, well, I like this, but I want to remove this, this, and this, because this doesn't really work for our assembly. you know
Right.
And you have the freedom to do that. Like nobody's saying, oh, you have to do it this way. Like we're designing it and you have to now do it this way.
No, I think what I'm saying is like the reason that what she's doing is such a big deal is there isn't anywhere to go to get that training.
Right.
And not in the American way.
Right.
And so that is what's so beautiful about that. Like for marketing and things like that, I mean, I get you. And even for formatting a handbook, absolutely, yes. But the ways in which, like even Anna says, like, I don't have a law book to give you for American common law. And like, you can look at this law book, but he's not declared, he's not an American. We're not religious. It's like ding, 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 all these things.
Right.
And so,
But you can't throw the baby out with the bathwater, like
right. But
his
you
material
need,
is good. Yeah.
but you have to customize it a little bit. And so let's work on it together. Again, you have to get together. So we keep coming back to this piece where we got to get together, we got to work together. The thing that's so strange about grown-ups is we aren't used to coming together and working together unless we're getting paid to work together or we are going to get something out of it in the end, like money.
There's an incentive.
Most of us are either used to coming together and going to a structured position that everything's already laid out.
Yes.
You don't get together and like create something with perfect strangers.
Right.
This isn't a normal thing.
Right.
And so, okay, we're not going to get paid for this. Okay, we take that part out. Now, okay, we're doing this because we're doing it for our sons and daughters. Okay, we're doing it because we were usurped. Okay, we're doing it because we can't not do it. We're doing it because of A, B, C, D, E, F, and G, right? Okay, so we get together and we're trying to work on this, and we have to find a way to get along and create.
Yeah.
And 99% of people in the age of the majority of over 21 have not ever done this before.
Yeah. Well, and the other tough part too is what I see is that people take things very personally. So another thing for me in my experience is that growing up, I was a competitive dancer, and my dance teacher was really rough. She wasn't as bad as like the Dance Mom show. that woman is atrocious, but she was very strict. And if you were, we're doing something together as a group, right? And you have to be in sync with each other. And if you're not doing a move on the rhythm of the music and you're off, she would call you out, right? But it was easy if you're getting called out and you're like, oh, that was me. Okay, now I know that I have to correct it, right? As I got older, because I moved to Jersey to pursue a dance career, so I was a part of other dance teams as an adult. We had a choreographer in one of the dance groups that I was in who didn't know how to tell people directly that they needed to correct something. So all of us were told, oh, well, I saw toes that weren't pointed and, arms that were bent. And we kept doing it over and over and the routine over. And I finally was like, can you just tell us who it is? Just tell us. And so that mentality of being able to take constructive criticism, because I know it wasn't anything personal. Like if I'm the one that's making the mistake, just call me out and I'll then, correct it. I think that that's part of some of the issues that we have in our assembly is that people take things personal. And I find myself, I don't ever want to hurt anybody's feelings. I'm here to get a job done. I'm here to work together with people. I feel like the best way to combat any issues with, being offended or whatever is just coming to the table and talking about it. Like being an adult and being able to say, I really didn't like your tone with me. I kind of felt like, and you talk about it, right? And being able to come to the table where you're compassionate, loving, and respectful of your fellow men and women, that you're like, oh, I'm sorry, like that's totally not the way I meant it to come across, right? And there's a dialogue that takes place. And I find that some people really struggle with that.
Well,
And
the grown-ups do. So age of minority don't have a problem with that. When you have a group of young people and they get together, they don't have a problem saying, Tammy, you hurt my feelings.
right,
Like,
right,
I can't believe you just said that to me. And you could just say, oh, I didn't mean to do that. And then they'll say, okay, well, don't do it again. And
right, right.
then you squash it and then it's over. But why is it that people in the age of majority can't do that and they have to have like a counseling session? So
I
everybody
think it
can
all
just
it
grow
all
up
comes
and huh?
yeah, I think it all comes down to people's life experiences and the traumas that they've dealt with and their maladaptive behaviors that led them to that place. And it's just like, and again, and it goes back to doing the inner work.
Mhm.
The inner work has to get done in order to come out and work with others, and to work collaboratively, and not take things so personal, because it's not personal. We're all, we have this thing on our assembly, is that we're all learning on the job. We are not
Right.
going to be perfect at this, and we're okay with people making a mistake. And when they realize they've made a mistake, is that they humble themselves enough to say, hey, I did this wrong, I need to correct this. And they just get back in the game, you
Right, right,
know and I think it's a growing phase, you
right.
know
Well, we're all growing and definitely, look, we're getting up, we're past the hour, Tammy,
oh
and
geez, you're
um
right.
and I want you to be thinking about what you want to leave everyone with in terms of like where you're going next and what it is that you're working on and focused on growing right now. And I want to just take a moment and talk to everybody about what's happening. Like there's several questions in the chat and lots of stuff going on. And so I just want to address a few things. Okay.
Sure.
So number one, y'all, Anna, is taking time off of public appearances because a lot of people just think she's taking time off because we lost James, our beloved head of state, or because it's been rumored that she was in jail and all kinds of other crazy things. So
Hmm.
Anna was, you know, they came to her for tax money on her land, and it just so happened to be the same day that she lost James. All that happened on the one and the same day. And Anna is not going to pay taxes to brigands for land that she owns a patent on and land that was paid for long time ago that she owns free and clear. That's like if you own your house, your business, your anything, and then some pirates come and they tell you to get out, and then they try to take something they stole from you at gunpoint and then try to sell it to somebody else or try to sell it back to you for more money. So she decided, because it happened in the timing that it did, that enough was enough. Because if you guys think this is the first time that she had to deal with them asking for tax money on land that they don't own or have any right to, then you really aren't paying attention, because she knows 100% exactly how to rebut whatever they're soliciting her for and how to handle the situation and disarm them in such a way that they wouldn't dare come anywhere near her. And instead, she decided to let it play out because she decided, okay, this is what they're doing to all of my American, people. And okay, we're going to end this systemically today. And so she let it play out. She doesn't want anybody to pay for it because that's dumb. Why would you buy something from pirates that stole something from the owner that we know? And the only thing that needs to be established is that they have no jurisdiction to do what they're doing. They have no authority to do what they're doing. And we need to make it plain and clear and very, very visible for them. And all the people that are asking for the money, how in the world do you think that the banks are going to work when we have a Basel IV system and they have a Basel II system? I think you might not comprehend the way banking works or business. They have to be in compliance with Basel IV to do an exchange, number one. Also, you probably don't know that you don't take something of substance like gold and trade it for FRNs, which are Federal Reserve notes, which are useless paper that are not worth anything. So you don't comprehend that part. You also are not comprehending what it takes for brigands who have no authority to be able to do business with sovereigns. Anna is a sovereign, and they just violated a sovereign. And they're dead corporations. And she has enforcement. She's working with the DOJ. She's working with all these other people, and she is establishing systemic relief. And read her articles because she's laying it all out for you. There's no secret. The thing about Anna, Tammy, that's so powerful is she does the work in front of you. The way the mother works with her babies right behind her. Aren't your kids always right behind you watching what you're doing?
Well, they're a little older now, but yeah, I would say so. They're watching in the background and they're witnessing what's happening. Yeah.
Right. When I mean, imagine them young or old, doesn't matter. They're always observing moms and how the moms and the dads are handling things, okay? And so observe what she's doing. She's putting it out there for everyone. There is nothing she's hiding. It requires you to read. There's also a Rumble channel where you can just push a button and listen to the articles, so you don't have to read it. You can just listen. And so it is important for everyone to comprehend the moves that are being made right now are so big. She doesn't need to come here and answer questions. We need to get ourselves ready. And so we're trying to bring you practical things that you can do with boots on the ground before the money comes, AJ. Before the money comes, all you people that want to just only do things with the money, there is plenty of work to do before the money comes because you have to know who you are before all of that happens. Because what happens when the money comes and you don't know all those things? Oh dear, you're going to get in more trouble, bigger trouble, because the way that this world will be working at that point is going to be real and it won't be reality. You won't be facing reality anymore. You will be facing what is real. And what is real is not reality. Reality is less than. ITY means less than. We have to learn words. We have to learn the definition of the language. You have to learn language and how to comprehend it and not understand it, but comprehend it, how to digest it, and then how to speak it back out again. And so it is with great love that we are bringing you actionable things that you can be doing to make yourself better and do the inner work. Because all of us have been forced to do it, right, Tammy?
Yeah. I mean, it's a work in progress every day, working on yourself, just, what can I do to, heal my inner traumas, and we all have them. We've been living in this false matrix of lies, deceit, deception, manipulation. And that's the name of the game here. And so, we're creating a new reality for us. We are creating a new world, a new earth, where people are operating with love, compassion, respect, kindness, creativity, and so you have to do the inner work, you know. And so it's a work that you do every day. It's a discipline that you have every day. I spend time in meditation and prayer, quite often throughout the day, and that really helps me a lot. Whatever it is that works for you. You know, I also like to run. That's something that clears my head. It actually. I said this to somebody because they're like, "Oh my God, how could you run? Running, I can't stand running." And I'm like, actually gets me to like a euphoric place, where
Mhm.
I'm just, not, I'm in a zone, and I guess, your breathing is so heavy that you're trying to catch your breath, and then you finally get to a place where your breath catches up to the pace that you're at, and then it's like just euphoric. And
Mhm.
so it's really therapeutic for me. So it's something that works for me, but it's different for everybody. Everybody does something different, and whatever that is for you, that's what you need to do. And just constantly working to heal yourself, and building that relationship with the creator. You know,
Yeah.
so
Well, okay, Tammy. So Barbara wants to know what books were mentioned earlier in the podcast. I
the
don't
books
know.
that
Yeah.
I read when I was first learning about status correction was Fruit from a Poisonous Tree. The author
Mhm.
is Melvin Stamper. Um, and I didn't mention any of the other books. I'm trying to remember because, gosh, I read so much that I can't even remember half the stuff that I've read. I mean, but all the books that Anna has, Disclosure 101,
Mhm.
America Some Assembly Required, Something is Wrong When, An Affidavit of Probable Cause. Uh, and then there's the other books, and for whatever reason, I think it's called The Great Escape. uh Gosh, it's with an author that just calls himself Judge something. I don't know, it's not coming to me right now. And the Cooper's, what's his name, William Cooper's book, Behold the Pale Horse. um the creature from Jekyll Island. I mean, there's so many that you know when I was learning about all of this, I was actually really shocked at the amount of books that were already written on the topic, that I was just so oblivious and didn't even know they existed. So yeah, I hope that helps, Barbara.
I know I was gonna let you just go off on your rant. I have a huge library, and when I was doing Exit Stage Left with Michelle, then on Mother's Day, I received like a whole big order of books that I used to get from the Forgotten Books stuff, all the ancient law books.
Hmm.
And I mean, my
That's
God,
great.
I have like so many of these ancient law books that they burned a lot of them.
Right.
So, the
It's a
more you
treasure if
get
you find it.
yeah, the more you get into this, it's like really crazy, like trying to catch up with all of that. And Jennifer, I do a Saturday call on Telegram. I mean, it's not on Telegram actually. Never mind. It's a webinar on Zoom. But if you go to my Telegram channel, then you can get the link for it and follow the rest of the stuff that I'm sharing on there as well. So if you go to the show notes, then all of my information is in there, and I will make sure I need to get all your websites, Tammy, because everybody's asking for your stuff as well. And so we'll put those links in the show notes. But yeah, bring that question, Jennifer, to me on the Zoom call, and then I can talk to you about what you're doing, and we can be very specific and go over what you should do and need to do. And then you get the replay, and you can always keep listening to it, and hopefully that will be helpful for you as well. Um,
I, I,
anyway,
I did want to say, if I may,
yeah.
the goal, gosh, I want to say it was a couple of years ago now when I started to do the American State Assembly's podcast. And, some of our men and women are shy, they don't like being in front of a camera. I get it, but I would hope at this point, because most of us do our meetings on Zoom, that, they're a little bit more comfortable being in front of a camera and seeing their face on a screen. But, I would love to get more of our state assemblies represented. I know that you exist and I know you're doing the hard work. Even if it's just one, we've had many state assemblies where maybe just their coordinator showed up, or it was a recording secretary, or whoever it is that is not shy to get in front of a camera. I'd love to just be able to represent your assembly and give your assembly a platform, a digital platform that you could share out with your network of people. I think that helps to bring awareness and helps to bring people into your assembly. And that's really the goal, is to, like Niti said, is to rescue as many men and women, bring them back home as we can. So
Absolutely. All the assemblies should be scheduling an appearance on your podcast. And I know we have lots of work happening. We have lots of assemblies that are being restructured and things like that too. And let's be honest, we are all just trying, we're those toddlers, that are just trying to stand, and we're exercising our legs, and it becomes really frustrating and hard, and people are getting worn out, and
yes,
there's a lot of like, we're not as formidable as those babies are. Those babies, you
right.
know, they're very courageous when they come into this world. When they come earthside, they are super courageous. They are doing very hard work.
Yeah.
And,
And I always think about the toddlers that are just learning how to walk, right?
right.
They don't ever give up, giving up is not an option for them. And so, that's something that all of our state assemblies can learn from, in our infancy stage. One other thing that I want to say is, my assembly, the New Jersey Assembly, has gone through some, hard times too. A lot of, some people just going sideways and not really understanding their role and really what it is that we're doing here. And we still love them anyway. I hope that eventually some of them will, maybe do a little bit of healing, maybe a little bit of soul searching, and eventually come back. But I will say that, the people that have stayed and the people that are continuing to come onto the assembly, we're getting just some really amazing people. I'm really grateful for my assembly. We've got some really great people, and they're working hard, like you said, Niti. Trying to educate themselves. I think that's probably the biggest thing that we're all doing is educating, because not only are we learning about the fraud, but now we're learning about our American government and how it's supposed to be functioning, and then putting that into action. And so, there's a lot of great people on my state that's doing some great work. And I just wanted to recognize them. Hopefully they're watching now, or maybe watching the playback. And so I just wanted to say how much I love you all and I appreciate you all.
That's wonderful. I mean, yeah, it's once you're able to get everybody, going and on the same page, it really makes for light work, when everybody gets together. And everybody, I pasted the New Jersey Outreach Committee link in the chat here, and the Tony Talks, because I know people were looking for the international links. They're in there as well.
Yeah, and
Um,
if the podcast is on both YouTube and BitChute.
do you have
So
those links available? Can you paste them in there? Because if you have them right this second, that if you go to the comments tab on the right,
I'll
and if
try
you,
to pull it up and add it in there.
yeah, if you put that in there, and then I'll also put it in the show notes afterwards.
Yep.
Perfect.
Yeah. It's let's see here. Yeah, I'd like to say that I'm pretty good with with technology, and then when I think I'm pretty good, I'm like, oh, how do I do that? All right, I'm going to try. I don't know if I'm putting this in the right place because the chat for me. Can you see that, Niti?
Okay, you put it on the private side. I got it. I'll move it
Oh,
over.
yeah. I don't know how to.
It's okay. I got you.
Yeah.
Are those two links? Did you put two links in there?
Nope, that's the one for BitChute.
Okay. All right, that's her BitChute link, friends.
And I'm going to try to pull up the YouTube channel.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. And in the meantime, you guys, if anybody can offer Anna some shekels, that'll be great. You can use her Cash App or her Revolut, or send her some, cash in the mail. Her address is here. Or a love note or a prayer or whatever you want to send for her. I know that it will be greatly appreciated. And it's using for the systemic relief for all of living men around the whole earth. So that's the work that she's doing right now. What's this link that I just shared? The UCM.
You know what? I think that was something that you would probably put in if you were already on YouTube. So I actually just grabbed the URL.
Oh, I got you. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, guys, disregard or whatever. Here's the other one. There you go.
Yeah. And the International Outreach Think Tank is offered to anybody that's an ASN and serving in their assemblies, and they're looking for outreach, material, and to, Niti, if anybody wants to know how to get onto that contact list, they can just email me at tammyhealy@proton.me.
Okay.
That's my email address.
Right. I will make sure. I'll put all of this in the show notes for anybody watching the replay, but I'm putting it in the chat for anyone who's here right now. And that way everybody can go ahead and grab it at their leisure. Well, I really appreciate you coming on today. We are going to have our next Tuesday at 1:00. We're going to be back with the next Exit Stage Left episode. And I don't know if Anna's coming back next Thursday or not, because she had asked for a break until October. So it's possible that she will be back next week, and it's possible that she might need still some more time. And, one way or another, we are going to be here next Thursday at 7 p.m. And we will also see you on Tuesday at 1:00.
Awesome. Well,
Thank
you
you
for having me today. I really appreciate it. And it was fun. It was fun talking with you.
Well, I appreciate you as well. And we thank everybody who tuned in. We, appreciate you guys. And we will see you Tuesday.
All right. Bye, everybody.